Welcome to MSP Unplugged, Simplify SaaS Management with Augmentt. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is our live show. We discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-hosts. We have Derik Belair of Augmentt, along with George Smith of Augmentt as well. Gentlemen, how are you both doing today?
Fantastic, Paco. How are you, sir?
You know, I can't, it's like it's saying I like to say here on the show, better than good, better than most, or sometimes I'll steal John's and it's better than I deserve. It depends on the day.
I love it.
That's great to be here.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to really talking more about Augmentt. I know you all are making a big splash in the community and the industry right now with what your guys are offering. So we'll go ahead and touch on that here in a bit. But before we go into that, I want to go ahead and talk about my favorite thing to talk about is Techcon Unplugged. Techcon Unplugged 2021 will be on this September 17th through the 19th at the Aloft Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois, right on the border of Chicago. So interchangeably we will use right by the O'Hare Airport. Learn from amazing panels to help maintain and improve your business. Meet vendors to find products and services that can help save you time and money, like Augmentt, who will be there. Rub elbows with your peers in the community, and it's going to be an all-out great time. Again, we took a lot of great feedback from the community this year because of everything that's been happening over the last 18 months, and we're hoping to have a great stellar show. Not only are we going to have our vendor alley, which we have almost double the vendors that we had from when we last had our event in 2019. We're going to have a lot of great show support and a lot of great panels that will help kind of talk about what's going on in today's day and age. But the most important piece I think is going to be really cool is what we can reveal now is we will be having a Microsoft 365 boot camp on Friday. So for those that have purchased their tickets, purchase them now. And they're $199 over at TechconUnplugged.com. But what you're going to get is only 50 tickets are going to be available for this boot camp. And it's going to happen between around 12 to 1. Around that time frame is when we will begin up until 4 o'clock right before our Friday night social. So this is a pre-function. This is not in detail or in the full event. So if you are there early, I suggest you do to grab a ticket. We are only limiting it to the first 50 people, and we're going to have it done by none other than Cyber Matt Lee. So if you have not familiar with Matt Lee, Matt is a great friend of ours in the industry, great friend of mine, knows his stuff. He was a security expert, a director of security at a previous MSP. Over at Iconic IT, and you really want to make sure that you catch him out because he's done a lot of these Microsoft 365 boot camps at other third-party vendors, so he knows his stuff. So I highly encourage you to go ahead and come out because this is going to be a great one. We're going to talk about Intune. We're going to talk about how we can leverage Microsoft 365 for your stack and really getting into the details of how you running it as a one-man show or as big as with many employees and really leveraging the scale that you can do with Microsoft 365. So that will be happening September 17th. And then again, we have our Friday night social, which is happening that night. Saturday night, we'll have our Saturday night social, and then we'll be ending it off that Sunday. So again, I implore you go ahead and head out to TechconUnplugged.com, purchase your ticket. You'll get all the details about the hotel, free parking, etc. That'll be of much value to you, and it'll be an investment to your business because again, you should be writing this off. It is investing in your career, is investing into your specific business and what you're doing. So this is going to be a great time, and you get to go ahead and rub elbows with some peers as well. So it's all going to be a good time. September 17th to the 19th. Again, Techcon Unplugged. All right, gentlemen, appreciate you holding off there on my long spiel on something I like to talk about. Obviously we appreciate because you will all be there, hopefully in some representation in shape or form.
We will be.
Why don't we go ahead and really dive into the topic at hand and really talk about Augmentt. And you know, I'll go ahead and lay this up to Derik because Derik has a lot of information and understands the industry quite a bit. You know, why don't you talk about a little bit about how long has the company been in business, and really go into maybe after talk about the business, you know, your 30-second elevator pitch of your intro and how it even came about / where you came from, because I think you have a very interesting story to tell.
Well, thanks, Paco. Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the punchline. I'll sort of work my way back. So, you know, we started the business in 2000 with the goal of really helping MSPs capitalize on what is this massive wave of SaaS and cloud. You know, I started my career in the MSP space working with Enable. Myself and my partner started that business. We built it up over about a 13-year period. And our entire focus at Enable was around helping back then VARs and system integrators really make the move towards services, reoccurring managed services. And our entire focus was around providing these partners with the toolkit and a complete solution to really help them capitalize on that trend. In 2013, when we sold the business to SolarWinds, we had a very clear roadmap of sort of what we felt was a next evolution of IT towards cloud and SaaS. Like everybody, and it's not because we were incredible visionaries, but like everybody, we saw, a lot less servers, making their way to the end customers, a lot more of a trend towards, everything into the cloud. We saw a lot less software being purchased and a lot more SaaS. And it was obvious to us that was sort of the development of the next trend. And our entire business has been around helping MSPs capitalize on these trends. So it was a no-brainer for us to say, well, listen, we have an RMM platform. Let's start thinking about SaaS and cloud. And at the time, SolarWinds had their hands full with a lot of acquisition, a lot of business opportunities, and it kind of got pushed off to the wayside. So I stayed with them for about 4 years, and in 2019, I reconnected with a fellow named Gavin Garbett, which was a CEO of Enable at the time. And I said, listen, we should probably really take a look at building this. I think there's a great opportunity. I think SaaS and cloud is just a juggernaut happening in our industry. And I truly believe there's nobody better positioned to capitalize on it than the MSPs. Because while the end customer is out there buying a ton of this stuff, it's still, they need somebody to make it all work together. And the only person that understands the end customer's business better than themselves is the MSP. They are there to help make technology work. And SaaS and cloud was a no-brainer. So that's really, where the start was. In 2020, we started building this thing. We released our first product late 2020. And I'll tell you, we haven't looked back since. We're in hyper recruitment mode. It is busy here and it is exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when I last did the demo, probably about a month or two ago before things got crazy on our end, it's crazy on a lot of the things that, we as MSPs, IT business owners have to worry about, especially with cloud, because, we think we have the environment set up, but we had a couple things that kind of threw a monkey wrench in the game for that. First thing was the remote from work, right? And that, the pandemic really forced our hands to understand, how we're going to protect our networks, what's going on in our clients' environments, and trying to figure out how to piece that together. And then the second piece is, like you said, is cloud. I mean, I think that, you could not have not seen that writing on the wall, right? Because I think that for a lot of people who had to push to go to work from home, and how do I get my data, and how do I get my on-prem stuff, and man, this VPN sucks, and just all these other things, trying to figure out how to leverage that, right? And that was something we actually did and allowed us to scale as well, is really leveraging the Microsoft 365 infrastructure, understanding how to go from there. But as everyone knows, there's always that security and compromise that you have to hand one-on-one, and sometimes people will try to go around that as well. But I'll toss this over to George and say, George, for partners that you spoke with, what is kind of the number one thing that you feel has been really causing, well, let me rephrase that question, that you feel that MSP feel that they're spending most of their time on fixing or taking care of, and how can they save more time that Augmentt has been trying to do from so far with the product?
Well, we have kind of two main modules really that we're working with at the minute. One particular is called Discover, and it focuses on SaaS management and monitoring, and we can certainly come back to that. But one of the other modules is called Engage, and that is primarily aimed at increasing the speed and efficiency at which MSPs can deal with their regular tickets. So we know that when MSPs are dealing with their end user clients, the majority of tickets that come through are often the same kind of top 5 things. I need a password reset. I need multi-factor authentication enabled. I need to offboard someone. I need to onboard someone. And now, again, going back to this SaaS sprawl, not only are you having to go into one portal in Microsoft Office 365, which is slightly complicated, maybe for some greener or level 1 techs, but you've also got Salesforce, you've got Adobe, and so you're having to go into these multiple applications, and it can be quite time consuming. So what Engage does is it gives you as the MSP, a multiple tenant, multi-application, single pane of glass, so that with the click of a button, you're able to achieve these tasks. Specifically, going to Microsoft Office 365, I think a lot of MSPs currently are faced with a difficult choice. And option A is, okay, I allow my level 1 technicians full admin access to the Office 365 portal and just pray that they don't mess something up, delete someone, offboard the wrong person, etc. Or the other and potentially safer option is I just let my senior guys deal with it. But then all of a sudden you've got your senior employees dealing with password resets whenever really what they should be doing is actual project work or more complex, lucrative tasks for your business. So what Engage allows you to do is fully equip your L1 technicians to achieve and dismiss those tickets as they come through, to resolve them as they come through in a very fast manner. So instead of taking 30 minutes to resolve a ticket, you're doing it in mere minutes. And as time goes on, we're adding more and more applications to that product. So again, it just makes it faster, so you're not having to go into different admin screens to achieve those tasks. So I would say speed and efficiency for your technicians is the big one, but kind of coming back to SaaS management and monitoring, part of the thing, Paco, is that people maybe aren't as aware as they should be of shadow IT and the blind spot that it's providing. I saw someone make a great reference the other day to Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland. You might remember that everyone knows the Cheshire Cat and his famous line of, if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't really matter what path you take. And that's directly transferable to security, right? If you don't know what you're protecting, then it doesn't actually really matter what you do. And so SaaS is this massive blind spot for a lot of security focused MSPs, whereby if you don't know people are using certain applications, how can you mitigate risk against that? For example, most people, if you ask them, probably think they're using a couple of dozen SaaS applications in a small medium business. It was recently revealed by a report by Blissfully that the average SMB is using 137 SaaS applications.
So let's unpack that a little bit, because I think there's a lot of great information and concern, right, for MSPs and IT business owners. I think the first one that you mentioned, that your product does, it handles access, right? And I think that's a big concern for a lot of us, where even down to myself, do I want my level 1 tech to have access to certain things, or do I limit his access and then worry about he couldn't take care of something, so now he's got to go ahead and reach out to me because that one checkbox, and this is to anything, Microsoft 365, whatever the case may be, hey, I can't get in, and so our default is like, all right, shotgun spread, let's hope for the best, and it's going to go from there. But again, you've mentioned all of the things for training and time, but we also got the security aspect as well that you kind of touched lightly on. There is, what if that our level 1 got compromised, and now he has full access on that sort of deal. So granted, we're trying to do our best to clean up and lock down the house, but that's another concern of trying to figure out that piece is access. There was another thing you mentioned, kind of referring to shadow IT and really understanding more on just, if you don't know what to protect, you can't take care of. I had an email probably about a couple of weeks ago from the board president of a nonprofit that we support, and he said, hey, how are you protecting us, because these other 2 nonprofits that are they got hit, what are we trying to do, how can we go ahead and resolve this issue? So I went ahead and informed them, hey, this is what we got going on, this is what we have taken care of, but your website is just not in our wheelhouse, so we'll have to talk to the director of marketing. So spoke with the director of marketing, come to find out, they leveraged or implemented HubSpot as their new CRM, which was new to us, right? Yeah. So now you just have your entire client database. We don't even know, is 2FA on? Are you using the same password? We're sending you this information for the dark web searches and such. Are you changing them? Are you acknowledging what's going on? So now we just exposed this huge thing out of just a conversation. And as you mentioned, it's a huge blind spot for a lot of us that are dealing with SaaS applications, because as you kind of mentioned, Derik, the RMM really measures and monitors what's on the system. but we don't know what they're accessing per se outside of just protecting them with DNS filtering products and things of that nature. We can't isolate cloud SaaS applications, at least from what we're using right now, and a solution like yours would assist with that. There, I'll go with either George or Derik, depending on who wants to jump in on kind of taking that piece of, you know, that concern and understanding what's in the environment.
Yeah, well, maybe what I can do is address the security piece specifically. So I would say that 95% of the engagements that we do with MSPs are really born out of a concern for security. When it comes to SaaS, you know, a lot of organizations really want to understand what is the usage, what are we using, and the reason why they want to know is that they feel that the SaaS component is a big blind spot in what is traditionally a perimeter security solution. You know, anybody in the channel that's been doing it for a long time has really gotten really good at perimeter security, whether it's the physical network, the infrastructure, the hardware, all of that, and really, you know, putting a very strong wall around all of it. Now, obviously, there's been sort of this slow trickle towards cloud and SaaS, which has been accelerated with everything that's been happening in the past few years. And now all of a sudden, what was a very small portion of the organization using maybe a couple of random applications, nobody really asked, nobody really cared, now has become a huge part of how the employees are interacting with technology. You know, most people are not doing it maliciously, but most employees, you know, push comes to shove, will Google, you know, what's a great, you know, calendaring system? What's a great surveying tool? What's a great file sharing tool? And the reason why they do that is two parts. One is they want to be more productive themselves. And number two is, you know, a lot of times the official channels for requesting an application, evaluating it, it's slow and it's painful. And, you know, from their perspective, they're like, you know, what possible harm could this do? And what we find most of the time is security organizations, anybody that's security focused is concerned about the fact that this unauthorized, you know, usage of application does have inherent risk associated with it, because the reality is the reason to use an application ultimately is usually to store data, to interact, whether it's employee data, it's customer data. The reality is you're trying to do with these applications, and most organizations that are bound by any type of security framework, whether it's NIST, you know, SOC, ISO, GDPR, PCI, you know, the policies are all kind of the same. You need to understand who are the vendors you're dealing with. You need to understand, you know, where your data is. You need to understand, you know, is there data privacy policies in place? And you need, you know, usually some sort of a, you know, approved usage policies. That stuff is really easy to control when the application installed on a server in the server room and it's, you know, on the network. It becomes much tougher when all of a sudden George decides that he wants to be, you know, a top-notch employee. Marketing's not really giving him what he wants, and so he's going to go off and get a free license to Zoom. He's going to get a SurveyMonkey account. He's going to get a Zoho CRM. He's going to load our list in there, and he's going to run his own little marketing department. That stuff is all great until somebody says, you know what, I want my data forgotten. You know, according to GDPR, I have the right for my data to be forgotten. And then internally, people are like, yeah, where is this data?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we really help, you know, really add, you know, visibility into that critical growing part of the security landscape, which is beyond the network, the blind spot that is SaaS and cloud. What we do is we bring all of that stuff out of the shadow. We make it very clear for people to understand. And then the MSP and the customer can have a really meaningful conversation around, wow, first of all, I didn't realize there were so many applications I had no idea about. Most of these don't really scare me. I should know more about them, but these three are very concerning. I don't understand at all. Since we're a Teams organization, why are so many of my employees on Slack? Like, what are they doing there? And why is Dropbox so big? So the way we say it is, you know, the first step is help your customers and yourself understand what is the true landscape, and then really start to work with the customer in a partnership to say, all right, well, let's bring some of these in the tent. These have got to get blocked. We got to put policies around these, and then let's bring these into the fold. Knowledge will make you that much more secure if you can understand it. And then you can start really, as George pointed out, you can start to, you know, how do I manage these applications using a least privilege access policy or least privilege access framework? Not every single employee should be in the Microsoft portal, you know, with full access. Like, you really got to restrict it. And the job is even harder, and I'm preaching to the choir, but it's even harder for an MSP that now has 50 customers, 50 portals, for employees. Internal people are doing work on the portal. You're trying to do it also. And just trying to keep it all together is a huge task. And that's really what we're all about.
Gotcha.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I ranted on there a bit.
no,
Sorry.
no. I mean, I think you hit on a lot of heads on the nails there, because really when it comes down to, it's just we got to see what the man is behind the curtain, right? We got to be able to lift that transparency to understand what's really happening in a particular small business. And there's so much that happens that we don't know, and trying to peel back that layer of what's happening is really a very important thing to do, especially nowadays. I think the biggest piece for us, like you just mentioned, is hey, in exactly that scenario, you have a marketing department that wants to be, they hate the traditional app, they hate OneDrive, and they say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and there's too many policies, restrictions that I can't send to my vendor, so I'm going to download Google Drive, throw it in there, and share a link. Or I'm going to email this thing out, but it's not letting me because it has whatever private information for the policy. Let me go ahead and just dump a link. And so it's all these things that everyone deals with, right? And it's just such a pain to try and deal with as well. So that's why when I heard about your product, it was hopefully to solve some of those concerns. But why don't we talk a little bit more about the MSP program? And George, maybe you can chime in on this one, where how does the company, we talked about how they can save time, but how can an MSP really just either save money / improve their MSP services by leveraging, the partner program at Augmentt and really trying to incorporate it? Because as you probably know, everyone has their stack, right? And they have to figure out, how does this lay into, one, their stack as an offering, but two, how does it intermingle with the tools that they currently have as well? So can you talk a little bit more about just how does the partner program work, or just how you help partners so far in trying to understand the visibility of what Augmentt does?
Of course. I think I've got like a 3-part answer for that, Paco, but what I'd like to do first is kind of come back to your story about your client moving over to HubSpot, right? Because I feel like that's a not uncommon, not moving up to HubSpot, but this conversation that MSPs have, whereby their clients are adopting new SaaS technologies and they don't even know about it until their client brings it up. And usually their client brings it up because there's an existing issue or a concern, right? If everything is all good, there's nothing really to have them step forward and ask you about it. They just assume that you're the MSP, they're paying you to handle their IT stuff, and that's where that assumption is dangerous. So in terms of for MSPs, like Gavin and Derik have worked with, I think close to 20,000 MSPs or something over their years. So they have a lot of experience in the channel. And what we find is, Derik had some great points there on security, and security has to be number one. And certainly for MSPs, they understand that absolutely. But security, and these aren't my words, I wish they were, but security is a discipline, it's not a product, right? So, we really see our Discover tool as really helping to enable other actual security tools as well and be part of that package. What in terms of, well, how do you create interest for your end user clients? Well, shadow IT, there's that security element, but there's also a real huge cost effectiveness that you can bring, and that's what's going to make your clients stand up and take notice. 30% of SaaS spend is wasted every year, and if you think about it, it's the same story that we've been telling. People go off in pockets, they get applications. Everyone's meant to be using Microsoft Office, so we're on Teams. We maybe have Zoom as well. So why are we also using Slack and paying for Slack licenses? We have OneDrive for sharing secure information. Why are people signing up to Dropbox and Box and all these things? And so we find that for the end users, by using our platform and generating the reports that we can share, and they're white labels, so MSPs can put their own logo on them, and they can also integrate with other BI solutions, you can go forward with a real value proposition of, here's an audit, here's what you have. Would you like it if I can save you some money and increase your security at the same time? Does that sound like a good idea? And most businesses are going to warm to that.
Gotcha. And really quick, I want to piece on that cost thing, because I always reference this phrase that a friend of mine taught me is, every business worries about the holy trinity of sales. It's you are going to increase revenue, reduce costs, or expand market share. And where we come into play is we can all go ahead and assist with the reduced costs, especially for here at Prodigy Tech. So that's kind of our main focus. So exactly like you mentioned, when it came to yeah, when it came to everyone going remote from work, and they were like, oh, we got to get on Zoom. That's what we got to get on, and we got to get on all these other tools. And then you come to find out, it's like, well, you're on Microsoft, you're on Teams. We can implement all of this already, and you're already using it. Why do you need Zoom? Oh, we need the video calling. We can enable that for you for this. What is it, $4 a license versus whatever how many you're paying for Zoom. So it comes into that cost conversation, like exactly like where you mentioned, where if you provide not only the value to the business, but really when it really comes down to it, is their hard-earned money. And when you can actually visibly show them that you can help save them money by doing this type of thing, this is where, hey, look, we're including this. This is why. And if we're an all-inclusive, or depending on how you're billing for your things, this is the ability to stay more, what we call it when I was in the automotive industry, more stickiness into that piece of, hey, we're here to help you, and we're looking out for you because we care about your bottom dollar, right? And so that has been a great assistance for us trying to do that as well. So I just wanted to highlight that piece, that cost reduction is a huge motivator for small businesses, especially if you have the visibility to do so.
Absolutely. The third thing I'd also mention, Paco, is, at this stage, MSPs often go, sounds good. I see the writing on the wall. It makes sense. I see the value. I just don't have time. There's so much stuff out there that, I've already got my stack. So we're cognizant of that. And so what we've done at Augmentt is create a very streamlined partner success program. So whenever you partner with Augmentt, you actually get access to our Augmentt Academy, which is essentially a learning management system that gives you access to a heap of tools, educational videos that you can share internally with all your MSP staff, so people can get ramped up and educated on SaaS monitoring and management in a very quick and speedy way. Further to that, we also have our dedicated partner success team that are going to sit down with you as an MSP, because we know that every MSP is different, focused on different verticals, different years in business, whatever it is, to find out what is it you want to see, what is the solution you're looking for, and work with you as an MSP to go to market. And to be specific about that, what that means is we will actually assist you onboard your first 2 customers. So go to market with you. We have marketing materials that we can share, so there's a joint marketing initiative. And then once you actually begin to acquire new customers through SaaS monitoring and management services, with those customers, you can then create case studies to generate more interest and provide more value to your existing and future customers as well. So, we really want to work with modern and smart MSPs who see this opportunity, and we really want to invest in them as well to be successful and create champions at this early stage of the market.
Very cool. Now, just to confirm, Augmentt is channel only, or is it? It is channel only. Perfect.
Correct. Yeah. Channel only. Yeah,
gotcha.
Absolutely. I mean, our entire business has been made around helping MSPs make money in services. So we're not stopping now.
Gotcha. And then just, and maybe I'll throw this to you, Derik. I know that this topic, this subject, or a part of the industry is becoming very popular. And, there may be some other competitors, quote unquote, to say, that are kind of entering the space or expanding their offering. Can you kind of highlight a little bit more on like what makes Augmentt different, right? And I think there's a point of, whether that's experience, whether that is just, there's a lot more, we have a lot more foot in places than the other competitors are at. Kind of just because I know that there probably is someone that's listening that, well, I can kind of do this with X, or I have heard this partner doing this. Why should we pick you? What would be something that you could say that kind of just distinguishes Augmentt just as a standalone, if we don't even want to reference the competitors, if you would even call them competitors?
Yeah. I mean, listen, my philosophy is always that if there's no competitor in the space that you're in, it's probably not a space. If you're the only one beating the drum and nobody ever comes, it's probably not going to be a party. I will say that what makes us unique, I think, is the fact that, one, we have 20 years that has been dedicated in helping MSPs, really figure out a way to capitalize and build profitable services business. We saw the evolution and happening between, back in the VAR system integrator, doing time and material, project-based business, moving into managed services. And to be honest, we see the evolution that's happening now being a very similar one. There's a shift happening in the marketplace. The MSPs are being dragged into it. What's unique about today is that the adoption is happening, I would say almost being led by the end customer, which is a little different. From a competitor perspective, we typically will see 2 types of competitors sort of playing in the space. One is the enterprise guys that say, you know what, this MSP stuff looks like a piece of cake. They're just customers at the end of the day. Let's just basically get in there and the product will fit the need. So I think people underestimate what it takes to build a product that fits within an MSP stack, and really what it means to work with MSPs. It's not having a channel program or a reseller program where you make a couple of points. It's really a commitment to building a business and industry together. So I feel like a lot of the enterprise guys go into it, with a lot of excitement, exuberance, but they kind of lose a lot of steam once they realize what they're getting themselves into, and then they retreat back to the enterprise. The other part are people that say, you know what, I think the technology seems pretty straightforward. I'm a smart guy. Why don't I start doing this? And again, to me, the focus is not just in the technology, but even as George pointed out, it's everything that goes into offering a technology, but with a go-to-market approach, with a how do I take this to my customers? Because the reality is MSPs, can plant a flag for where they want their business to go in lots of different directions. They can say, I'm going to become an AWS DevOps shop. I'm going to get into copier and print. I'm going to get into voice over IP. The reality is, we treat the MSP that makes a decision to go down the road with us, we treat that relationship, incredibly importantly. We know that there's a lot of work, and we know that for most MSPs, this is a big step. Most MSPs don't take adopting technology very lightly. They certainly don't take positioning technology to their customers lightly, which they shouldn't. And so that dedication to the journey, the dedication to the steps that it takes to build that services business, that is what I think we do that is very, very unique. Other than that, then it really becomes to our approach, how we do it, our commitment, our size, and so on. So I always encourage competitors to come in the space. I'd like them to be just below me, but I encourage everybody to come in.
Sure.
Because this is going to be a massive industry. Like it's just undeniable. So I'm always excited for anybody that makes the space better.
Gotcha. And then just to toss it up to you, George, I know Derik mentioned about partner enablement and really being able to dedication to partners. You mentioned the Augmentt Academy. And being able to be resources and tools and such for that. Now, do you have any other programs where you would help a end user, for example, if they wanted to do like a webinar or a demo and have resources to help someone pitch on that visibility of shadow IT? Is that something that's available with Augmentt, or kind of go through more on some of the resources that Augmentt provides in the partner program?
Absolutely. I think, anybody who's kind of interested in this space right now, there's definitely a massive drive and need for education. And so we're willing to help out and support anybody who wants to and kind of shed light on shadow IT and talk more about SaaS monitoring and management. I think as well, just being cognizant of time, Paco, I think, a lot of people are probably sitting wondering, okay, this sounds great, but how do I monetize it, right?
Yep.
And we're finding, our existing partners are very successfully using two methods. The first one is the kind of upfront audit, which is a way to open that conversation with existing and prospective clients by saying, here's a report showing all the SaaS products you're using. Did you know about this? I can save you money, etc. And just opening that conversation. Then moving forward, a lot of people are simply building it into their reoccurring monthly pricing on a per seat basis. And the bottom line is people are making an extra $1 per seat on their existing services. So in terms of how we operate, our pricing starts at 100 seats minimum for 49 cents per seat, and those are floating licenses, so you can disperse them across your end users as you see fit, and join for $49 a month. However, we do also offer volume discounts, and we have access to what we call an accelerator program, which is really for people who think this sounds awesome. I definitely want to get involved. I want to be successful. And so what the accelerator program is if you purchase 500 licenses, we will give you 2,000 additional free forever. So that's something we're wanting to talk about with people who are interested, and people can reach out to me if they want to schedule a demo or learn more.
And those licenses per user, correct?
That's correct. It's per user. It's on per device, per seat.
Gotcha. And then are there any contracts? Is it month to month? What are requirements to kind of join the partner program?
So requirements to join the partner program, we're doing month to month, or if you want to sign up for a year, you can. But again, for like the specific details, that's something we're more than happy to go through and talk about in the demo as well. At this stage, we have a lot of flexibility, and we're really focused on just trying to build champions, as I say, and people who are genuinely serious about getting into this space and maximizing on this blue ocean opportunity.
Very cool. Well, go ahead, Derik.
No, and I was just going to say, for most MSPs, the way they engage with us is one of two ways. They say, listen, I've got a customer in mind. I know that, they're problematic with their usage. They're concerned about it, and they're 120 seats. You can just buy 120 seats for them. That'll run you about $50 a month. And then most of our MSPs, what they'll do is they'll end up about doubling the price. So they'll charge $100 a month, and then they'll take care of the monitoring and the management of that customer's shadow IT. The other one that George mentioned are for MSPs that say, listen, I've got about 100 customers, larger MSPs. I've got about 100 customers, and I want to standardize across all my customers as part of the security package I offer them today. Most end customers think that the MSP is looking after this stuff. So it's a lot of our MSPs say, listen, I don't want to try to win individual business. I'm just going to standardize on it. The problem with standardization is that usually, is something that it's money taken out of your pocket, because now you're having to absorb it, and the license, it can add up that way. So that's why we design accelerators. So if as an MSP, you're like, listen, I'm just going to deploy this across everybody, we're going to say the most you're going to charge, you're going to pay us is $199. You can deploy it to like as many seats as you want. It's one flat fee. We cap it at 2,500 because most people never really exceed that. But if somebody said, listen, I got 5,000 seats, I got to cover everybody. Our goal is to make it nice and simple. We want to make money when the MSP makes money, not in advance. So that's the explanation of the two.
And that 2,500 seats for $200 a month, that works out to you at 8 cents a seat for the MSP.
All right. Well, perfect. Well, let's take a quick break and round out the show. Why don't you collect your thoughts on if there's anything additional to share with the audience. But before we go into that, if you would like to support the show, go to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. We appreciate those that continuously support us. What that gets you, about $1 a show, you'll gain access to our MSP only Facebook group. That is a private group where we kind of develop this space because we, to be frank, we know that there's a lot of IT Facebook groups out there that are probably not the friendliest. I think that there's a point where, a lot of us IT businesses, techs, IT business owners feel that their opinion is fact. And when someone puts a post, make that other person posting that question that they're trying to learn, or they just didn't know, make them feel dumb, stupid. These are phrases that we've heard from a lot of our attendee or members of the Facebook group. And so what we decided to do was build this space, but basically, have a zero tolerance of, look, we're all here to learn. This is what we're trying to do. There's many ways to do what we do, right? And there's so many different ways of doing business, because one size does not fit all, right? And I actually just talked about this on a recent webinar I was on, where you can't let someone tell you how to run your own business. You are going to be the one that knows how to do success. Now, there are experiences from other people that you can pick from, but you never want to be felt that you just shouldn't be here because you asked this one question because you're learning to. So we built this safe space. It was a great. So far we're about 160 members. Really great conversations happening there, and really a positive point to John Dubinsky has been really helping with moderating that forum. So it's been really great time and really great information. So if that's of interest to you, if you're trying to find a community that you feel that you want to be able to share with no ridicule or anything of that nature, feel free to jump on by. Go on to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. Not only are you supporting the show, but again, we got some new things coming out here as we get closer to the show, and as we pass the show, as we improve and just give back to the community. So again, thank you to all those that continuously support us. All right. So, all right, gentlemen, I think it's been a great, I think it's been probably 40 minutes since we started earlier. I think this has been a great conversation that we've had so far. I'll toss it over to Derik and then to George. Are there anything that you want to just share to round out this conversation, and then we'll go into how people can get a hold of you at the end there.
So I'll maybe just sort of say a couple of words at a very high level. nobody ever wakes up and thinks, oh my God, I got to do SaaS management, or I should look at SaaS, and it's, we understand that this is something that is new to a lot of people. There's a bit of a learning curve. And what I would encourage you is just engage with us, and we'll give you all the content you need. We really want to just, share information, share best practices, even, put you in contact with people that are already doing that today, that are willing to have the conversation. Before you invest any money, before you give, any vendor any money, I would say just really try to get them to educate you, and really, make sure that it's a fit. We believe that for most MSPs, this is a no-brainer, but again, every decision is important, and we really want to take care of that. What I will say is that I am super excited about joining you guys in Chicago. One, because I don't think I've left, a 5 kilometer radius of my house in the past 2 years, so I'm willing to go anywhere to do anything. But I'm really excited to meet the team and meet you guys. So definitely check us out when we're there.
Perfect.
George?
Yeah, absolutely. For those interested, you can check us out at www.augmentt.com. Augmentt is spelled with 2 T's. If you want to know why, you can reach out to me personally at george.smith@augmentt.com with 2 T's again. And for anybody, as Derik said, right now we're really just interested in talking to people, educating people, and having those conversations. So please reach out to me. I'd love to schedule something, and we'd be happy to show you a demo of the full platform if you're interested as well.
Sounds good. My theory, and it's the same as Matt over at Channel Pro, which is another great podcast, is that you had to get that domain, but we'll go ahead and see if we go ahead.
Maybe more.
Maybe
You'll have to get in touch to find out.
So we'll go over to guys, Matt and Rich over at Channel Pro Weekly. Great podcast to check out as well. But gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. We're really excited to have you there at the show and supporting us as well. And for those that are tuning in, come join us every Tuesday at noon Eastern, 11 Central. Watch live and hang out in the chat room over on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Subscribe and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. And use your favorite podcasting app to take us wherever you go. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on Amazon Music. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.